So thank you, Mike, and I think we'll see a lot of people trickling in over the next hour or so. I've learned that the German railway is operating as normal, which means they have major issues on various tracks. And so I know that, for instance, one of my colleagues, the first train didn't work at all, the other one is rerouted. So it probably will be 1 hour or so. I want to talk about what Mike already said, why I believe that 2018 will be the year of disruption for the finance industry, why there are so many things which will start or sometimes directly change that industry in a way which means it will never be the same again. And so that's sort of the short abstract. There are a couple of major changes. We have also MiFID as a regulation. We have also a lot of technology changes. Obviously, blockchain is one of the hot things, and there are few talks I have with customer contacts with customers where the blockchain topic doesn't pop up in one way or another in all industries. So this is obviously one of the big changes. So where I want to start is quickly look at business drivers and business impact. So when we look at business drivers, so things which are driving this entire change we are facing, on one hand, there's the regulatory change. So we see these new regulations, and we all know when we look at PSD2, which also has been a very hot topic at our last year's Digital Finance Conference. PSD2, in the introduction, already says the target is to foster competition. So there's something where the EU tries to change business. We have the technology change on the other side, so we have a lot of changes in technology, and blockchain is one, but not the only one we are facing here. And we have the business change, so what does it mean to the entire business, and what are the new business models, the new players coming in here? And all this, in fact, changes our business and has an impact. So we have the changes in the competition, so we have different competitors, and we will see more of them. If you look at PSD2 and the third-party providers, obviously there will be other players. And in many countries, more than in Germany, we are already seeing, for instance, Apple Pay being a very relevant thing. So it's funny, just this morning, I had two quick conversations out there, and both said, you know, in Germany, I usually still pay by cash, but I'd like to do it the same way I do it in London, where I don't need any British pound anymore. I don't need cash. And obviously there are other players in. There are other business cases right now, things which can be done. There are also the changes in the business model, so what can we do and how do we do it? And there's also the change in the margins, and I think from the business impact perspective, we see new business model, business cases, particularly when you look at what happens around blockchain, but also when you look at third-party providers in PSD2, which have their own changing business models, which might have a different interest, and which also in some areas we see a pressure on margins. So MiFID might potentially lead to some pressure on margins when people see what is paid to whom in that process, and obviously it's something which raises questions. Having said this, what are in fact these changes, and why is it so disruptive? I already said there are in fact the regulatory changes, the technology changes, and the business changes, and some of them are very new, but others aren't. Anyway, they are sort of culminating right now into something which leads to change. So when we look at this, we have MiFID 2 effective early January. We have PSD2 January, GDPR May this year. We also had, which is not that much discussed, the end of net neutrality with end of last year, which might be not as relevant for disruptiveness to the finance industry, which is more relevant regarding the disruptiveness for other industries. But again, also that, and for other industries, it might be more GDPR and net neutrality, which leads to this disruptive effect. For the finance industry, it's obviously more also the finance regulations. And we will definitely see, in fact, we have even some more here, but let's just pick these. And then on the other hand, we have seen a lot of technology changes, and some of them date back quite a while. So the blockchain, in fact, dates back to 2008. But it's like with the internet. Most people first came in touch with the internet many years after the internet had started. We have the cloud. So the term dates to 2006 when Amazon released the Elastic Cloud, but factually it started earlier. We have mobile, going back to the 80s, social. Oh, that's the old slide deck, obviously. That's a pity. We have social, which is pre-2004. It should, in fact, should say here, we have the smart mobile here. The smart mobile is something which we started seeing, in fact, 2007 with the introduction of the iPhone, which is a different play than sort of the traditional mobile thing, because it also changes things like payment, etc. And this is starting to get effective right now. We have social for a couple of years. We have IoT for many years. So we have a lot of change here. And IoT, for instance, is one of these areas which is getting more and more important right now. When you just read the news yesterday from the Mobile World Congress, there was a lot of talk about 5G and how 5G networks, so the next generation of mobile networks, will sort of trickle into a lot of sort of components in daily life. So there will be far more components, not only communicating, but also sort of doing actions. Put this together with blockchain, smart contracts, and other stuff, then you will have more components which sort of automatically order some services which involve payment, which will lead to a change. And when we look at these things here, so blockchain, yes, it's out for a while, but we are right now at a point which I would say this is sort of reaching the critical mass, or coming to a comprehensive effectiveness, in the sense of right now it's the point where we see the concrete business cases out there, we see the concrete applications out there. That's starting, I think, blockchain, we will see a lot this year, a lot of launches, also powered by money through ICOs, so through the initial coin offerings. So there's so much money in, there will happen a lot of stuff here. Cloud, I had a conversation with a chief security officer of one of the large financial institutions over here in Germany just a couple of days ago, and he said right now we are at the point that even the regulators are supporting or allowing us to make the shift into the cloud. I think it's not that disruptive for that industry, but it's anyway something which adds to the entire picture. What should be here, that the smart mobile obviously will right now, I think I've read just a number, so that last year it was the first time that there were, even in Germany, that there was more business done of what we are the internet than with traditional types of payments. And we will see, I think, you know, the younger generation, so they are waiting for, I can pay the same way as I can in London. It will happen, even here, even for the Germans, which are a little slower in the adoption of these new technologies. And if you go to Asia, it's a total different thing, where it's absolutely common already. And so we see this becoming just at a level of critical mass. And as I said, the IoT thing as well. And so even while many of these technology changes date back a couple of years, the essential point is that several of them, particularly smart mobile, blockchain, IoT, are in 2018, maybe 2019, leading to more disruptive changes in the context of new players, new business models, new business cases, but also to some extent in the context of the regulatory changes. If you take PSD2, obviously PSD2 opens the door third-party providers the door to new types of smart mobile payments and etc. So you have the new players, you have the effect here. So this, in fact, then leads to the new competitors, the pressure margins. But also, for instance, that's something which is, I personally believe, absolutely underestimated. That's the part of the changing customer journeys. Where does this come from? This comes on the one hand from PSD2. A little bit, some information here. But PSD2, in fact, yes, you have the option right now with account information service provider, payment initiation service providers to have a different front end. But it also comes with GDPR, because GDPR means you have to inform your customer differently. You have, in some areas, the need for consent, unless you have a contract or a legitimate purpose. So in that space, it means the way also you interact and interface with your customer is changing. And changing customer journeys is something which is a pretty challenging thing. Because if the customer doesn't like a new journey, he might decide to take a totally different route, which doesn't include you anymore. And if the customer thinks, oh, there's someone who gives me a far better customer experience and journey, so the third-party provider in PSD2, you might end up with them. So this is something which changes the business, and you need to be prepared for it. You have the new business models. So particularly when you look at blockchain, there are a lot of things which we can do. Today there was the news that Amazon paid more than 1 billion for a provider of electronic locks. So take electronic locks, put it into the context of IoT, blockchain, smart contract. Then you can do some interesting things. You can kill Airbnb if you want. Put the payment inside, etc. There are new options. Obviously, we have the increase in regulatory cost. It's a pain for everyone. And I think we need to do it better. Just being compliant is not enough anymore. We need to look at what can we do better here. We have the IT cost, which is changing, I would say, in some way. But we also have, and that's the other side of the story, we have also new opportunities. Because what we never should forget is that what others can do, potentially also the existing players can do it. So we have, in fact, two groups here, which are the existing players and new players. So what you definitely should do is, so to speak, always look at the bright side. So don't be the rabbit in front of the snake, but really try to be look at the positive things. Yes, and we need to be aware regulatory changes are here to stay. I don't expect that we will see a broader deregulation. So some deregulation might come from the US, so triple in to some extent, but not in a broad sense. The technology changes are here to stay, and we have to think about what does it mean for our business. And when I look at the way I have to do payments with my Volksbank, so I'm a little old school, so it's okay for me, but it might not be okay for many other people. So it's really a little bit Stone Age, starting with the standard interface I have here. The business changes are here to stay, including the changing competition. So this is something which will not go away. We see these changes in competition, and obviously a lot of players are trying to enter the market, yes. So there are opportunities for both the established and for the new players. And we have to be also aware, and I think that's important for both the new and the traditional players, that, so to speak, nobody is perfect. Nobody's perfect in the sense of, when I look at established players, they have their strengths. So an established player, yes, there might be startups which have endless money, but we also know when we go back to the new economy, even immense amounts of startup money don't last forever. So I think established businesses have a different way of dealing with finance, and probably a little bit less focused on burning money. You have the customer relationship if you're an established business. So it's still your customer. And I personally believe the main thing to look at is how can you retain your customer relationship, and how can you come to a point where you have still the interface, the direct interface to the customer, so that you're not just a back-end provider of services, but it's still your customer. This is a very essential thing. You have the knowledge about regulatory processes and how to deal with regulations. On the other hand, the new entrant, so to speak, so the you in the sense of who is the new entrant, agility, innovativeness, that's where they come from. A focus, which is easier because they only need to do one thing and succeed or fail. And no legacy technical burden. On the other hand, I've frequently seen startups is that their software architectures are horrible and not made to last. So that's the other side of the story. Then you grow and you succeed and you identify, oh, I have to reinvent everything because it's not good enough. So, having said this, it's important to do it right. So, understand and build on your strengths, identify and address your challenges. Be really realistic on that. And that's true for both. It's true for established players, it's true for new entrants. Look at, when you just take that previous slide, look at where are your strengths, where are your challenges. And I want to just look at three main actions before I close with my speech. You should think about. The first action is stop thinking inside out, think outside in. I recently heard from someone who said, okay, we have a bank customer, they had a Vasco secure, Vasco OTP token. And customers weren't overly happy, and they did a study on that, and I said, okay, you don't need a study because it's very obvious that most customers don't like it that way. And then they came up with, oh, we do also out-of-band SMS, but it's so old school. There are so many different ways and more convenient ways right now to do the payments. They didn't really look at it from a customer perspective. What they did is they looked at it inside out. So what works best for us regarding dealing with PII or regarding authentication payment processes? Saying, customer, you have to do what we want you to do. That's the wrong attitude. The attitude we have to have today is thinking outside in. So what works best for the customer? What are the ways they want to use today and tomorrow? How do we enable our business to support whatever authenticator is acceptable and good for the customer? How do we do it in a way which the customer wants to have, the smart payment, etc. So not supporting a smart payment scheme doesn't help the customer. Then the customer just will go away. So there's no way to avoid it. You have to do it. You have to just do it in a way the customer needs. Do what the customer wants. So that's my first action item. The second one is assess blockchain and DLT, distributed ledger technologies. So understand the technologies first. Understand the business model behind, so initial coin offering and all that stuff. Analyze the known use cases and think beyond. So there are so many use cases proposed today. Look at these. Understand the impact on your business model. So what does it mean? And there might be also situations where you say, okay, this is challenging to my business model, but you know, if you can't avoid that happening, then be part of the game. Understand the ecosystems of partners and technology, so with who to work here. Define your business case, decide and build. So there's no way to just ignore blockchain. You need to find out how you make the best out of it and how you don't end up in a loser situation because others do it and you don't do it. The third action item, that's the last few seconds, do innovation right. So when I look at innovation, we have a lot of digital units, and many of them are only young people. That's not the right way. So what is the right team here? You need to have agility, and yes, the team needs to be agile. It needs to be innovative. No doubt about it. It needs to be open-minded. Yes, they need to think beyond, but also you need experience in it. Learn from previous failures, learn about how some things must be done. So just being innovative is not enough. You also need to understand how to get a power on the street. You need some tech-savvy people who understand technology well enough, but not only tech-savvy people. You need people who bring in the structure, and you need people who understand the customer. You need to bring these things together, so it's not one single thing, it's a mix of capabilities you need to have here. So, having said this, I'm at the end of my presentation. The slides will be all available for you for download. So here you go. I hand over back to Mike.
Thank you very much.